Howdy YouTube viewers and gear gadget fans everywhere. If you're tuning into Casa de Movo TX here on YouTube, then you're tuning into the WatchBox review and you come here to learn about horology and watches. And that's what we're doing here today. In this chapter we're taking a look at the Invicta Sea Hunter Midsize in all stainless execution. It's a quartz chronograph. It fits me very comfortably. It's a wide flat case shape and it fits across my 64mm wide bone structure very nicely. I already know ahead of time that watches that are very flat with very little case lug curvature, these kinds of watches generally fit me very, very well. And you're seeing the watch here balanced comfortably on my right wrist. I'm a left-handed PC mouse user and I don't want to drag the buckle around on my desk, so I switch back and forth. I switch it basically back and forth all the time. So let's take the watch off and hammer through the technical specs. So turn my camera around, get myself off camera. Alright, take the watch off here. And here it is. So this is the all stainless execution. It's the mid-size Sea Hunter. Invicta makes huge watches from the Arsenal to the full-size Sea Hunter. These are gargantuan watches and gargantuan timepieces. I don't know, about 65, almost 70 millimeters across in many cases. This particular one is scaled down. I wear my watches actively in and out of the water. I don't need anything that big. Something that big would simply get in the way. So I opted for the mid-size. Awesome choice, awesome choice. It still is very, very large. Okay, so let's hammer through those technical specs. The bezel diameter from one end to the other is 50 millimeters. Now that 50 millimeters is across this polyurethane coin edge. I believe it's the same polyurethane that they use to make a lot of their watch straps, and it's very rugged and very easy gripping surface, even though the watch is like wet or cold or whatever. And it's a very easy unidirectional dive bezel to operate because of that. So the actual bezel itself, from edge of the stainless to the other edge of the stainless, is quote-unquote only 47 millimeters. So it doesn't appear to be a very large diameter on the wrist when you wear it. The lug end to lug end length from one to the other is 55 millimeters across. Now the actual bracelet solid end links here have a little bit of a flare out on the side, and that overall length, I guess, from end link to end link is 59 millimeters across. So it still occupies a very large chunk of wrist real estate. And as I said before, you saw the images before, my wrists are about 64 millimeters wide across, and so this type of watch fits me perfectly. Okay, the case thickness is a whopping 20 millimeters from the top of the Flame Fusion crystal to the bottom of the case back here. And so that 20 millimeters, it really gives the watch a lot of hugeness to the feel of it when you're wearing it. I mean, when you put this on the wrist and you like swing your arm around, you've got this chunk of steel doing that. I mean, it's a big moment of inertia as it goes around in your wrist. You can really feel this thing tugging on your wrist, even though technically it might not be your heaviest watch. Some of you guys that are into the Invicta brand as a whole, you might have watches that tip the scale over a pound, which this one doesn't, I don't think, but it still feels really big because it's so tall up off the wrist. Okay, here's the crown detail. The crown is a 10.5 millimeter diameter. It's got that really cool propeller feature in it, being a dive water sport influenced piece. The crown protrudes out 7.8 millimeters from the side of the case. This little gap in here underneath the crown is supposed to be there. So don't think for a second you've got a defective screw down crown. It's not tightening all the way. That's just the way they are. They're supposed to be that way. Kind of wish the crown sat flat against the case, just because that's kind of who I am. I like stuff that sits flat. I don't like stuff sticking out too far. But it hasn't really been a problem for me, and it is very easy to unscrew. So in that sense, it is a screw locking crown, and you simply tighten it whenever you're done adjusting your time. So you're good to go. Okay, so the Flame Fusion crystal window on the front is 35 millimeter diameter, and it's a flat crystal. There's no dome or anything like that to it. Okay, so let's see. Let's take a look here. Here's your strap lugs. They're a standard 26 millimeter wide across. Now, I say that now that 26 millimeters is starting to become more of a standard. It wasn't so much. That wasn't the case maybe 5 or 6 years ago. But fast forward to today, a lot of third-party OEM, or third-party aftermarket manufacturers are making 26 millimeter wide straps for various watches. So 26 on both sides. The bracelet itself has a 26 to 24 millimeter taper, so it slightly tapers down. And here's your scissor flip lock clasp. Okay, hats off to Invicta for going with the more expensive scissor locking type of clasp, which snaps down, and there's your flip lock safety. Good to go. Here's the Invicta logo and signaturization on the clasp mechanics. Most of the watch is brushed, although the center links on the bracelet have a nice polished finish on it. I like brushed finishing on watches. I'm not a huge fan of polished watches. I don't know, that's just my personal preference. I just immediately think water sport, dive tool, dive styled when it comes to brush finishes. And so, but it does have enough of a polish on it to give it a kind of a flair or a dressier kind of a flair to it. So let's take a look here into the case back, and this, in my opinion, is one of the coolest looking case backs in quartz horology. Okay, it's not an automatic movement, okay, it's not a mechanical wind movement, but they still put an exhibition case back window on there. They tinted it blue, and it uses Invicta's Flame Fusion crystal going across. Why? Because they can. Why the hell not? Why the hell wouldn't you? With everybody cookie cutting dive tool watch cases out of various supply channels in China, and everyone's doing the same thing with their case backs, why wouldn't you do something different? I think it's cool. Okay, that is that little propeller rotor that's in there, it's merely purely decorative piece. It does nothing. Okay, it doesn't even move. Okay, so I think some of the earlier prototypes they were trying to work on when they first released this model had rotating off-center weight, counterweighted rotating propellers on there, and they tried to do that, but they physically couldn't pull it off. So what the hell, I think it looks cool. I like it a lot. Here you can see it's a standard screw-in case back, kind of a dome case back. It's got a slight dome profile to it, really cool. So it's a screw-in case back. That case back with the screw-in cap crown achieved 30 ATMs of water case pressure resistance. Okay, oh, I didn't talk about thickness here. I didn't talk about the bracelet. The bracelet thickness, by the way, is a little over 4 millimeters. Okay, so it's a pretty thick, substantial bracelet. Nicely done. Friction split pins throughout this bracelet assembly. So, anyhow, back to the case back. There's your name and model number designation around the perimeter. It's a Pro Diver, quote-unquote, Master of the Ocean series. So this is not an Invicta Reserve timepiece. Okay, it's part of their standard lineup, which is really cool. I have no problems with that. And there you see the case fit, I guess the lug fit with the solid end links on the bracelet. So Invicta's machining fabricators in China, I think, do an outstanding job for the price. I mean, some of the machining and fabrication quality in the stainless steel on this piece is really, really good. And you can see that in the bracelet end links, there is basically no slop and no free play whatsoever on that end link assembly on basically either side. So they did a really good job with that. It has these little decorative screws going into the case lugs. Those don't actually attach the bracelet. They're just, or the end link. They're just there for decoration, I believe. The end link is held in place with a standard spring bar going across. Okay, so here is the business end of the dial, and what you're looking at is an ETA G10 211 quartz chronograph. Standard cookie cutter, off-the-shelf quartz movement. You can find these for anywhere from $30 to $40 to $50 approximately, and it's just basically a drop-in type of movement. The pushers on the side of the case are screw locking. This is a really cool feature. I wish more watchmakers did this, but you basically unscrew the pushers. With the pushers screwed in, you can't push them. They don't go anywhere. So you have to unscrew the pushers and unscrew the lock, and you can thereby engage the quartz chronograph, like so. Okay, so in the ETA G10, the main second hand on the front of the dial, that is your chronograph second hand. Your timekeeping seconds are down at the 6 o'clock position, down here. Okay, you've got at the 2 o'clock position, you've got a 1/10 second indicator. So when I stop my chronograph, I've elapsed now, what is that, 24.7, yeah, 24.7 seconds. And we start up again, and the seconds continue. Stop it again. We've now elapsed 29.1 second. So that's how you read the ETA G10. To reset it, you simply press this bottom pusher, and everything returns back to the 00 position. The 0 positions can be calibrated on the ETA G10, so if you've got a second hand that's kind of ticking off a little bit or skewed sideways, you can simply enter the calibration mode and pick out which hand, where you want the hand to rest around the dial. Okay, so everything you see on this dial here is dressed in Invicta's Trittonite luminescent paint, and it's done in a blue color, which is really cool, and including around the dive bezel. So the bezel there, the first 15 minutes around the bezel, are also accented with Trittonite blue luminescence. Okay, the dial itself is a black sunray dial, really cool, straightforward, about as straightforward as Invicta does in terms of just simple dive gauges and dive tools and that type of thing. So each sub-dial has its own little chapter ring going around it. Really, really cool. Really nice execution overall. Very easy to read. Solid hands, non-skeletonized hands that stand out boldly, and they're very easy to read. Okay, no tachymeter bezel. Awesome. Thumbs up. I can't stand tachymeter bezels. I have a couple of them, and it just clutters up the dial. It decreases the dial opening, so just get rid of the tachymeter. There's no reason to be underwater or swimming with this watch timing things on a tachymeter. So thumbs up to Invicta for omitting a tachymeter bezel from this execution. I like it a lot. Okay, so did I talk about the bezel? The bezel is a unidirectional rotating dive bezel. Smooth, easy to operate, very little slop overall, doesn't rattle, it's not very loose. Okay, so let's pause here, dim the lights, and check out the lume. First time on the review, you're seeing me lume charge with a ultraviolet, a UV flashlight, and I was always using my other, flashlights and things like that to lume charge, and it was just driving me nuts. I'd blind myself reflecting light off the watch dials and into my vision. I'd end up doing half the review here in the dark with green dots and green spots in my vision, and it was just really annoying. So now we're switching things up. We're going to change things around a bit. Always looking for ways to improve my reviews, and here is one of them. So here we go. Lume charge. Okay, done. There you go. So there you go. There you have it. Let's put the pip there, put it at the top. There you go. So this is one of my coolest glowing Invictas, and hats off to them. They put big round globes of Trittonite luminescent paint on the dial, and the hands glow really, really bright. It's a really impressive lume on this watch, so I really like it. I like it a lot. It's just really, really cool looking. So there you have it. I personally have no problems reading this dial through the night once my eyes dilate to complete darkness. Okay, now obviously, glow-in-the-dark lume, it's going to fade, and it's not the kind of thing that, you're looking at, to read the time in like a movie theater or something, or oncoming headlamp car traffic, freeway traffic in the middle of the night. Okay, because once your eyes dilate to those levels of brightness, and after 30 or 40 minutes or so, the watches start to appear very dim. But with complete night adapted vision, I can very easily read the time on this watch, and you're actually starting to see it fade out here pretty quickly too on my camera. So my camera has a hard time picking up lume, okay, and this is a pretty good representation of like how the watch is going to appear like in a movie theater or that type of thing. So alrighty, so there you have it. Let's turn the lights back on and just wrap it up. So I'm really happy I bought this watch. I really enjoy it. It's just a really fun watch to wear, and I like it a lot. So they make a lot of other executions, but this is the one that I prefer, being that it's all stainless, all black, and 30 ATMs, and it's a real winner in the luminescent department too. So anyhow, thanks for tuning into the WatchBox review. This has been the Invicta Sea Hunter Midsize all stainless. Thanks a lot, guys. I'll catch you later.